Can you hear me better now? Okay. I've been asked to introduce the speakers. This is the Making the Most of Google Apps presentations, in case you're in the wrong room. The second speaker is going to be Stephen Kousen, the VP of Technology at UNISYS. We're going to start out with Arun Nagarajan from Google.
My name is Arun Nagarajan. I'm with Google. I'm a developer on their Google Apps product. And so before I start into the key topic, what I'm going to be talking about is called GoogleAppsScript. How many folks here use Google Apps regularly? So Docs or Gmail or the product that I'm using right now, which is slides, presentations. So they have quite a few products that kind of fall under this umbrella of Google Apps. And there's a lot of cool things that I can show off. Things like, in fact, why don't I just do a quick demo of some of the cool things that open a new browser, change my identity to a dummy account, and then I'll just kind of show you what I'm talking about here and why we think this is a really good platform for end users, let alone developers, right? So I have two browsers here, kind of simulating two end users, okay? And then on the left, so you can see that there are different icons. So I just have a couple of different identities. I'm going to go to docs.google.com here, and docs.google.com here. Switch out of my work account to my personal account. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to create a document here. I'm going to say, call it DevFest, and I'm going to share it. Oh, not that. Share. And I'll just say I want to share this to, hopefully the internet works. What's going on there? All right, let's skip that for now. So I'll just use an existing document. Let's just see, it's a good thing I have a couple of documents. So this is a document that two people are simultaneously editing, right? So a big play for Google Apps in general have been around collaboration. It's not just packing in features that you may be using 10% of. It's all about collaboration. It's all about being in the cloud. It's all about accessing from a browser or a mobile device. So as I'm cursoring around here on my right browser, notice that immediately on the left browser you can see a secondary cursor, and I can just say, this is me typing, and I can just start typing, and this is instantaneously it's getting pushed down to the other user around the world or on the same laptop here. But what's happening is every keystroke's getting pushed out to the data center here in Virginia, then it synchronizes where the user is, and then pushing it down. And not only that, it's all automatically revision control. So I can go in here and say, okay, I want to go back to this version or this version, and then immediately revert back. So everything's automatically collaborative, automatically version controlled, automatically in the cloud, right? So that's the big value prop of Google Apps itself. So what am I here to talk about today specifically? So the talk that I'm talking about, I'm about to give here is about GoogleAppsScript, okay? So let me start this presentation, go full screen. Alrighty, cool. So that's my contact information. Let's see, alright, cool. So what is AppScript? So AppScript is three things. So it's basically a cloud JavaScript environment with which you can write applications on top of the Google platform, the Google Apps platform, to access application APIs for docs, email, spreadsheets, presentations, and you're able to write all that in JavaScript in a browser and use all these APIs without having to write and host this code somewhere else. So you can extend, you can implement custom personal automation rules. So if I get an email from this person, automatically create a spreadsheet and populate this inventory there and then send it back to them. Or you can implement custom workflows for your enterprise where you could try to say this document needs a manager's approval before it's posted to a public shared document repository and things like that. So it's really around personal automation or complex business processes and everything in between. So it's actually quite a powerful platform, and you couple that with the fact that there are tens of millions of Google Apps users that have billions of files in our cloud. This is a platform that you want to be comfortable with and familiar with as developers, so you can start to build apps and get people using it, either for your own personal use or for enterprises as well. So what can AppScript do? So AppScript is a comprehensive layer across several of Google Apps products. A lot of them you'll be familiar with, so things like calendar, things like documents, but also even little things like finance. So Google has a finance API that you may want to have a spreadsheet that's automatically calculating intraday P&L for if you're working at a bank or something like that. Language, so you can automatically translate a document. So the Google Translate API is called the language service, and we actually have a JavaScript API that can run in the Google Cloud where you can immediately translate things on the fly. All the way to be able to call across the internet to a SOAP service or an XML service, to storing stuff, to calculating data arithmetic and things like that. So just an example of capabilities. So we talked about some products and platforms, so some capabilities real quick. So you can send emails automatically as either the person that wrote the script or the person that's using the script. You can tap into triggers. So triggers could be something like when a spreadsheet cell changed. You can recalculate something, or you can just log that. You can make outbound HTTP requests. So go fetch my latest tweets and then archive it. Things like that, right? So a lot of different capabilities that it's actually very easy to get started with, and I would say very powerful as well. So this product has actually been around for a few years. So it actually was introduced originally in 2009 as part of the spreadsheets product. So it was actually a very simple way to run calculations in our spreadsheets product in 2009. And that's all it could do. So you could go into Google Spreadsheets and go to script editor and write a rounding function if the built-in one wasn't good enough. Or another example could be currency conversion. So take a dollar, convert it to euro, or vice versa. But then from there on, we started to continue adding features where in 2010 you could actually build web apps using it. So the backing store might be a spreadsheet, but then there's a actual UI that's presented that you can search on or build and submit a form with and things like that. And we also added a script gallery where you could publish your popular scripts and have other people discover it and install it. Then we added a GUI builder in 2011, ability to include scripts in sites, in Google Sites, in standalone scripts, HTML service, storage, performance improvements, running the script as a user. All of that got announced this year, early this year at I/O. So it's actually come quite a long way, and there's a lot of cool things that are in the pipe as well. So one of the things that people don't realize is that AppScript is also the technology behind AdWords scripting. So this is the same infrastructure that gets utilized for things like if you're in the business of advertising on a web page, and then depending on the weather, you may want to pop up an umbrella ad. You could have that automatically check the weather service at a particular location and then insert an ad. So you can add that intelligence using the same sort of scripting layer that we have. That's called AppScript. So let's take a look at an anatomy of an AppScript, and time permitting, I'll actually do a demo as well. So here's a simple script. It's got 3 parts. The first part is reading a cell value from spreadsheets. So you can see that it's very, syntactically, it's very easy. Spreadsheet app.getActiveSheet, get the range A2, and get the cell value. Then using the maps service, Google has maps, it's had maps for a long time, create a static map of that address, and then send a link to that static map to a particular email address. And then that person gets an email from the person running the script. So this could be automatically run on a trigger, this could be manually run when a button is pressed. So you can see a lot of interesting things that could happen because we allow you to tie all these services together with just a few lines of code. So that's what AppScript is, and this is a sort of a canonical example of a very simple script that I think is powerful and useful. And you can swap out maps with Translate, you can swap out spreadsheet with a Word Google document, email with a JDBC call. You can really pick and choose with whatever you have there. So let's talk about a few use cases. So there's, I'm going to talk about a couple of use cases, and then I'm going to actually invite Stephen Kousen over, who's a VP of Technology over at UNISYS, a system integrator partner of ours, and he's going to talk about a few examples where I think AppScript has been very useful for his implementations as well. The first one that I'm going to talk about here is a product called Flubaroo. It's kind of a silly name, but it's actually quite powerful. And it's meant for teachers. So teachers that are administering quizzes using Google Forms. So Google Forms is a product with which you can visually assemble a form and the results are automatically collected into a spreadsheet. And this person wrote a script that once the results come in, it can automatically grade the students. So it's actually really cool. You're able to pick out which column contains the student's information, the student identifier, and then it knows what the row is that contains the right answers, the teacher's answers presumably, and then it calculates the score for all the students, because you don't want to do that manually, and then creates a histogram of what the grade distribution is, and then creates a report that can be sent out to the students themselves. So it's actually a very unique example that someone has done. Another one that people are very familiar with is this concept of mail merge. So you can actually create a template that is either a draft in Gmail or a spreadsheet, and then run a script that can send out an email to the 20 people that are coming to your dinner party or something like that. That's individualized with their personalized name and anything else that you may want to templatize. So mail merge is a very popular example where AppScript makes a lot of sense. And then here's another interesting one where around calendaring. So Brown University, in one of their faculty calendars, they wanted to be able to hover over a particular event and then have that event reflect all of the people that are on vacation that day. Instead of having 35 or 10 or 25 events on different days based on who's on vacation. So they're able to, through a script, automatically create an event with the right content within that event that can be reflected for the person clicking on it. So a lot of really unique examples that I think are really valuable that GoogleAppsScript allows you to stitch that together within the Google Apps umbrella. So you have Gmail, you have Calendar, you have spreadsheets, you have docs, you have sites, groups. A lot of these products are stitched together with this. I'll talk about a couple more things and then I'll invite Stephen over. So let me go back and show you the API documentation. It's super easy to get started. Just go to developers.google.com/appscript, and there's a lot of really unique and pretty valuable tutorials. I think 30 fully fledged tutorials, and you can see all the different services that are exposed. So you can see that everything from finance to Gmail to being able to lock a file, just have a lock in the server. Fetching data from a different server, all that good stuff, and then also some other third-party, non-Google Apps APIs like analytics and URL shortener, which Danny talked about earlier as well. So the difference between, one last thing I'll say is the difference between App Engine and AppScript is App Engine is all about writing your own app from scratch. Right? There's no logic provided by App Engine. It's an execution container where you are in full control of it. You're authoring it. With AppScript, it's all in the cloud on top of Google Apps. So if you're automating it, you're building workflows around it. So I'll do a demo of that in a little bit, but then I wanted you guys to kind of see some more scenarios and get you guys thinking about it. So I'll kick off Stephen Kousen's slides here.
Thanks, Arun. Yeah, I'll try to keep this to about 10 minutes or so and then hand it back to you. I want you to be able to show some more demos. And the reason I'm up here is really because of the context of the deck is really about making the most out of Google Apps. And UNISYS as an SI has been working with Google for about 2 years now and implementing it in the federal government. That's our target. In the public sector as well, and dealing with the other type of requirements of integration and extension around security that we've had to do. The reason we got into it, obviously, about 2 years ago with the mandate around OMB mandate about making agencies more effective and more efficient, lowering costs, increasing productivity and capability, and what to do with all the legacy constructs, what are you going to do with all these systems. Of course, definitely more focus on stakeholder collaboration internally to the agency and externally across the agencies as well. So that's how we initially got into it. So in 2010, we took a look around as to what was the technology trends at the time, what was the way we could help provide extra support around making agencies more efficient. And at the time, this is about 2 years old, I had taken this off the internet. But the concept was this concept of new collaboration. What is this phase of new collaboration going to be? It's this whole concept of the consumerization of mobility and mobile devices, and people are buying these like crazy at the time, integrated with the context of the convergence of the technologies that's circling around it. And essentially, when you start to integrate the mobility, the GPS, the IM, the VoIP video, and all the other network technologies, you're sort of getting an impression that it was all around collaboration, not necessarily email. They're going to throw in a 25 gig email box, but it's really about the concept of collaboration. How can you work better? How can you work more collaboratively? How can you work more efficiently? And you're placed inside this three-dimensional kind of world of online, real-time, anytime, anywhere, any device type of context. So that's what we sort of looked around at the time and said, Google Apps represented a lot of that, right? So it had document sharing, email, calendar, contacts, and all the pieces that you'd want to be able to start with and promote to solve agency problems. So we, at the time, you see 3 agencies on the left-hand side. Context around GSA has gone Google, and that was July of last year. We had won a contract around there and did that in about 6 months. Moved the entire agency, first agency-wide implementation, 17,000 users, over to Google Apps, and started to get the experience of what does that really mean? How do you make the most of Google Apps, and how do you extend it? And then at near the same time, we had partnered with the company to work on NOAA and moved 25,000 folks around there, finished them last December. And just this week, we've announced we just finished up the Department of Energy's Idaho National Labs. That came out on Google's blog on Wednesday, the 3rd one. And so the context and the takeaways from some of these implementations and engagements of how you leverage it from an SI perspective is all around the integration when you go in there, email, calendar, contacts. How do you migrate that stuff? There are tools, there's app tools that have already been created from Google that can handle Lotus Notes implementations, Exchange implementations, but what happens when you find an implementation like Sun One email or Oracle Calendar and things that aren't often used or seen very much, but still fairly common in the federal government and maybe some public sector. That's where we rely on app developers and ourselves to kind of develop these scripts to be able to port information out of Sun One. We used AppScript. We use other tools that way and port it over, contacts, things that are just sort of not available in real time. We set up a dual email environment from a systems integration perspective, allowing, you can't just move an agency over the weekend, so you have to take that over a month or 2 where you test to make sure it happens and move everybody over, but you're in this dynamic world of 2 email applications at the same time. You have calendar sync, free busy issues, you have Active Directory synchronization issues, and we're using app dev and tools from Google and other partners to help make those things work together as well and keep the operations going and the agency working. Mobile device integration, we haven't seen one engagement yet that doesn't have some form of mobility and mobile device management. People want to read their email on their phones, of course. And now it's not just BlackBerry anymore, that was sort of easy. But now it's iPhones and Android systems. How do you integrate those? So we've developed custom applications to integrate with common mobility, the MDMs on the world now, and then also for federal government agencies, you have to make sure that phone is secure. FIPS 140-2, the FISMA controls around that. Well, some do, some don't. So now we're getting into more of the idea of integrating with the app wrappers like Mokana that can actually integrate with an application if you're allowed to, and be able to store that data in a secure kind of way. We are seeing more and more of that as we go forward. So the mobility device is an interesting challenge as we're going forward. On GSA, we integrated with their VoIP systems so that you could listen to your emails and read your voicemails integrated as well. That's a common thing we're seeing also. And then lately, some of the other bids we're going after is the integration with the professional social networking pieces. Salesforce, we had to kind of look at how we would integrate with Salesforce, other clouds as well, other mobility clouds as people stand those up, and they don't want on-premise systems at all, so they say integrate with this other cloud. Or online meetings and situations like that, ideation and task management that may not be within Google Apps at the time. So how do you integrate with that? And one example, as we do the proof of concepts, beyond just customizing screens or going in there through the APIs and pulling out a report that might be agency specific, the challenge was, well, how would you integrate Salesforce chatter feeds and Salesforce task management into your site, of Google Apps site? and using AppScript, we're able to make that work as a new menu items on there and see that happen in real time. So the power of integrating is much, much better than we saw 2 years ago, and it's just getting better all the time. And we're seeing these being very commonplace, where the proof of concepts the agencies want to see you integrate amongst all of it. This is my last slide. So what we're seeing now, as we go into 2012, and some of the newer requirements start to expand and extend Google Apps, not so much the Google Apps piece, but the SI's role of protecting the cloud service providers through these concepts of these cloud access security broker services. So, initially we had to make sure that we stood up some type of dual factor authentication, single sign-on capability amongst everything going in there. So we also integrated with the agency's Active Directory already. So when someone comes in with their second factor, we verify against the Active Directory, and we verify that's who they say they are. So we have that working with CAC and PIV cards, Smart ID, those type of things. Again, an SI leveraging Google Apps out of the box, but then adding extra type of systems integration capabilities to make that work. And now lately we're saying is the security issues around HIPAA and PII and CGIS type of data, ITAR type of data. Well, I'm not sure those clouds were meant initially to be able to handle that. Some are, some aren't. But what can we do to help prevent that data from getting to the cloud first in the first place, right? So we would work with products like CipherCloud or other products that can pulverize the data before it even gets to the cloud in motion, allow the agency to keep the keys that pulverize it, allow it to get to Google Apps, and you don't have to then fingerprint all the people in Google Apps and verify that that they're secure people. This stuff is pulverized and powdered inside the cloud anyway, and you sort of try to avoid the problem as it is. So we're now starting to get in more and more of those agencies as we get into less civilian agencies and more DoD and type of Homeland Security agencies, and even some of the civilian agencies, of course, as well. So this is what we're saying as of the latest bids we're putting in, and this is the power that we're using when we integrate with Google Apps. I want to hand it back over to Arun to allow him to do some more demos.
Great. So this is a developer event, so it wouldn't be complete without showing some code and how you would go about this. Hopefully with Steve's presentation, you got a sense for how this all makes sense in a work context. But one of the nice things about AppScript is that it's applicable for your personal task automation or bring it to work if you're using Google Apps there. So let's get started. Let's see a couple of examples of what this might look like. So first I'll use the pre-canned example, and then we'll kind of go from scratch here as well. So let me find, all right, so here's an example of an app, very straightforward. Let's actually take a look at the source first. And so what this is doing is basically providing a very simple, can you guys see that? Okay, cool. This is going to show a very simple form. You can see an HTML page here using jQuery, and then I'm going to do a search, and it's going to return messages from my inbox. So it's not going to be using the Gmail interface at all. It's a